What's up YouTube, I'm Mike, and today I'm shooting videos again back outside. That worked pretty well yesterday with this Rode mic, so I'm gonna try it again. And today what we're talking about is the current cycle that I'm using to transition not into a woman. In case you were afraid, I had decided to sandbag and become a woman so that I could win a bodybuilding title. No, I'm just gonna be transitioning from my previous cruise into my upcoming blast. Basically, the reason for the transition is that I'm waiting on compounds that are necessary to really kick this thing off. And so, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I was really not feeling life there at the end of my last cruise, and so I decided to start upping the doses. So, what I'm doing currently, for those of you who are curious for the Cliff's Notes version of this video, currently I am running about 350 milligrams of Test E per week, and I'm titrating that dose up slowly until we get to 500. My Trenbolone E dose is at 100 milligrams, and if you watched the previous video, then you know that I switched out the T-ball that I think is D-ball for a little Anavar to kickstart this cycle. Obviously, I don't need to use an oral at all because I was already on Tren. It was already well established in my system. And so, somebody already mentioned, like, why are you fucking with orals at all? Primarily, the answer to that question is that I just like to experiment with different compounds. It's why I had the T-ball on hand to try it, to see what it feels like. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, then you know that I absolutely love Anavar. It's one of my favorite compounds, and my wife runs it. I run it occasionally, and since the T-ball was not working out, I decided to just run the Anavar for a bit longer. So when everything that I need for my actual blast, when I'm actually able to get a hold of that, then the blast that I'm going to be running this time is going to be 500 milligrams of Test E, 500 milligrams of Primo E, 200 milligrams of Trenbolone E, and 50 milligrams of Anadrol per day. I'm probably going to save the Anadrol to the end of this blast, so I'm starting with titrating doses up slowly with Anavar. Then I'm going to give my body probably 4 to 6 weeks off of the Anavar for my liver to recover. And then I'm going to try to add in the Anadrol toward the end to see if I can get some extra gains once all of the injectables kind of start flagging. So that is the proposed cycle that we're going to try to use. I'm also currently, for the first time ever, running growth hormone. I started the growth hormone at about 2 IUs a day, and I'm getting up to about 4 IUs a day currently. The reason I say about is because, like so many products that you get underground, it's very hard to know exactly what you're taking. Everything that I've read about this particular source says that their bottles are 12 IUs, and so I started out with 1.2 milliliters of bacteriostatic water to try to get an even 1-to-1 dosing. And the first bottle ended up netting me about 11 IUs instead of 12. And so I'm probably just gonna treat it as if it were 10 IUs per bottle, put 1 milliliter bacteriostatic water and roll with that. So because of that, I can't give you a definitive amount of GH that I'm using. It's gonna be somewhere in the 4 IUs per day range. I will report so far that the growth hormone, it seems to be peeling fat off my body in a major way already. And the second, I guess I've been running it for about 12 days. The second side effect that I'm experiencing that I'm hearing is due to growth hormone is a tremendous amount of lethargy. Really since like the second day I was on the GH, I started getting just fucking tired, really tired, honestly. Like I was sitting at my computer trying to do work and just struggling to stay awake. I've been going and taking a lot of power naps during the day, and it's really kind of become a problem. So I would be interested to hear, some of the guys that I'm talking to are saying that should go away once my body gets used to whatever dose that I decide to stick with. And so maybe I should stop fucking with the dose and see if I can get that to normalize. The other side effects that I can report are what you would expect. The Trenbolone is starting to come up in my system. I'm not feeling any of the extreme side effects from Trenbolone that that I would typically expect up in the 300 or more milligram per week range. No night sweats, no paranoia, no intense aggression. I've had a little of aggression, but that's not uncharacteristic. Again, as I've reported multiple times with the lower dose Tren, the side effect that seems to be the most pronounced for me at low doses of Trenbolone is intense sexual aggression. I mean, I am a fucking animal in bed. I cannot get enough pussy from my wife right now. So much so that it's probably more information than you guys really want to hear, but we've been having sex so often that I'm being forced to take a break because I've got like chafing on my fucking penis. So it's actually become quite uncomfortable. So we're gonna try to take a couple days. I'm probably not gonna make it, but I'm gonna make an effort to abstain for a couple days to see if I can get my junk back in order. If anybody has experienced this and has a faster remedy than just abstaining, I would love to hear about that in the comment section, because it is becoming a bit tender downstairs, guys. Too much pussy apparently is a bad thing. So what else can I tell you? We've got about 4 IUs of growth hormone. And then the anabolics that I mentioned. Obviously the Anavar feels amazing. It always does. I'm only at 20 milligrams a day of Anavar. I'm gonna push that to 30 tonight and probably run that for another couple of 3, maybe 4 weeks, which would give me a total of about 6 weeks on orals. And then by that time, hopefully I will be able to start blasting the Primo and the test at higher doses, bump the Tren up, and then we can start getting some gains. As I mentioned in the previous video, I was getting gains. My body weight jumped up from about 193 in the morning, 191, 192, to about 197. And then I was up as high as 200 pounds at night, which is what led me to believe that something suspicious was going on with that T-ball. And since ceasing the T-ball, which I think was D-ball, my weight has come down slightly, a few pounds. So I'm guessing that there was definitely some water weight that was getting stacked on there. I am currently sitting at about 197 in the evening, 195 in the morning, since I've been eating a lot overnight. My diet is still pretty shitty. I'm eating basically whatever I want, with the exception of trying to focus on getting my protein up. I was struggling in the beginning with my calories, trying to get enough, which is very typical for me. A lot of guys don't understand this. I've mentioned it previously in my videos. I seem to be, my wife and I both are really kind of like polar opposites of most people. So most people, they put weight on very easily. Bulking for them is usually not a problem until the very late stages of the bulk, when they're really trying to cram calories in. But for a lot of people, bulking is a relatively easy thing to do. It's when they go to prep or cut that they notice that they have a lot of struggles. My wife and I are exactly the opposite. Cutting for me is extraordinarily simple. If you followed some other videos, I posted my body scan during my last cruise. Eating whatever I wanted to eat, I got sub 10% body fat, got down to sub 10% body fat. Because again, it's just incredibly easy for me to not eat. So now that I'm back into a bulking phase, it's really almost like a prep for me in comparison. I think I'm getting eaten a lot by bugs out here. For me, when I go to try to, excuse me one second. When I go try to bulk, all of a sudden I have to be very diligent with counting calories, tracking macros, because if I do not hold myself to a very high standard, then I will just absolutely start skipping meals and not gain any weight. That is going to be the big question mark for this particular blast. I have had a couple of blasts now where I really failed to gain any appreciable amount of muscle mass since really going on the past year. Several guys have commented about it and looking back at some of my older videos and saying that, man, you're really not growing anymore. And, you know, I've tried large cycles. I've tried smaller cycles. I think what ultimately comes down to is at the particular body weight that I am at, with the metabolic rate that I have currently, I just am not succeeding in getting the calories that are necessary to grow much more. So the goal for this cycle was to get to about 205 in the morning with 6 visible abs. So I am currently sitting at 196, 195 in the morning with 6 very visible abs. I think that I've actually been losing some body fat the last week on this GH. So it'll be an interesting cycle for me because one, it's the first time I'm using GH, and it's certainly the first time that I'm going to be using Primo or really compounds at this high of a dose. So I'm expecting to start the Primo somewhere in the next 3-week period. Again, I think I mentioned this in a previous video. Just for safety's sake, I do not keep anything other than prescription drugs at my home. I have children, I have kids, I just cannot risk it. I don't think anyone really cares about what I do in the privacy of my own home, but on the off chance that someone with malicious intent tried to get me into some kind of trouble, I do not store any illegal compounds in my home. As I mentioned previously, it's very easy to get access to doctors who will prescribe a whole litany of hormones like Test, Deca, Anavar, Anadrol. There's a surprising number of hormones that you can use legally in this country, and so I keep those on hand when I can get prescriptions, and then I go outside of my home to get my injections of anything that is underground so as not to jeopardize the safety and health of my family. So because of that fact, I don't always have ready access to certain hormones, and so Primo is going to be one of them. And so we're going to have to wait for about 3 weeks now before I can start that blast. What I'm trying to decide to do, maybe I can get some opinions from you guys who have ever used Primo in high doses. Because I'm having to wait so long to start, and because I've got some vacations coming up this summer, I really want to get to that 500 milligram per week Primo dose as soon as possible, and I'm considering front loading and just taking a gram to the dome right out the gate. So I'm curious, has anyone ever has anybody ever take Primo as high as 1,000 milligrams? What were your effects? Really, you know, any information you can give me about Primo at all would be welcome in the comments section. I decided to go with Primo this time because I didn't want to use a gram of test. As I've mentioned, I have my E2 dose dialed in at that 500 milligram mark, and so it's easier for me to just stick with compounds that are not going to aromatize. One of the things that I may run into, however, is that people say that Primo is very good, is really a very good anti-estrogen. So I may have to dial back my Arimidex dose if that ends up being true. So yeah, that's pretty much where we stand right now. I'm doing 2 on, 1 off days in the gym. My current training split is one day I do chest all day. The whole day is just chest focus. Then I have a back day. Then I have an arms and front and side delts day. And then I have legs with rear delts is the current split that I am running. And I average about 2 hours in the gym when I do any of those training intervals. My calories are currently too low, honestly. They're somewhere in the 3,500 range. Probably gonna try to push that up to 4,500 if I can get there. But my weight is either going up or staying relatively static. So that tells you what you need to know about the calories. Trying to keep my protein high, at least 200 grams a day. And then I'm gonna be pushing the carbs up a lot higher than I'm used to, just because this is a bulking phase. So trying to think rapidly while I still have this camera in my face as to the questions I often get asked. One of the things I keep seeing in the comments, and I'm not ignoring you guys, somebody keeps, different people keep asking for, what do I eat in a day? I have posted I've posted a couple of daily calorie logs on my Instagram. Again, a lot of the data that you guys are looking for that is not really worth making an entire video about shows up on Instagram. One of the biggest reasons that I don't make videos too often or really much at all about my diet is because I am the single worst person on the planet to ever try to model a diet over. I really honestly don't think people believe me when I tell them what I eat anyway. Like for example, again, last night I had 10 powdered sugar donuts. While, you know, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I grab 4 or 5 donuts, I shove them in my face, I drink a little bit of Isopure whey protein, and then I go back to sleep. And I do this every single night. I go through bags and bags and bags of Miss Bear's powdered sugar donuts, which I would certainly not advise really to anyone. It's not the optimal way to do this. I drink on average 3 to 6, you know, like a Dr. Pepper, a Squirt, you know, some kind of soda a day. I eat handfuls of candy at night. I probably have, on average, 3 servings of Twizzlers while laying in bed watching porn with my wife. That's upwards of 300 calories, well upwards of 300 calories, I think, for the Twizzlers. So when you factor in the calories that I get in the day between Miss Bear's sugar donuts, fucking Dr. Pepper's, Squirts, sodas of any kind, candy, like my diet is really an embarrassment. It's a testament to, I guess, what is my genetic gift. I can eat like that and maintain 6-pack abs with no problem. So it just feels like a disservice to really, you know, I mean, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna make a fucking video of me sitting there like literally eating Twizzlers out of the fucking bag? Nobody needs to see that. And it's certainly not gonna help the overwhelming majority of people. So I'm gonna try to do better with my diet this time. I probably won't, just because, honestly, like again, like I was saying, when I'm probably rambling now, just walking back and forth out here, but like I was saying, like when I'm bulking, I get so full so easily that it gets to the point where in order to get more calories in, I literally have to eat sugar. Like I cannot tell you the number of bowls of ice cream that I have thrown away on a bulk because I'll think to myself, well, shit, you know, let me just eat some ice cream. I need some more calories today. I need carbs, I need fats. You know, my protein's looking good. I don't want to eat more fucking white rice. I'm going to puke. So I'll have a bowl of ice cream and then literally cannot get that down either. So sometimes the only thing that I can swallow, it seems, is another Dr. Pepper or a handful of candy. And then bam, there's the carbs that I need. Is it ideal? No. Again, it's far from ideal. But at the end of the day, whether you want to believe this or not, it's calories in, calories out, guys. It doesn't fucking matter. The body's going to convert whatever carb source that you intake into glucose and then into ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That is what powers your cells. Your cells are not running on fucking mashed potatoes. They're not running on brown rice. They really don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck what anybody tells you. At the end of the day, brown rice, white rice, those are both going to get converted into glucose, and then those are going to get converted into adenosine triphosphate. Your cells are going to do what they do. So as long as you have a fuel source for your cells in some type of carbohydrate, then they're going to do their job. Are you going to be micronutrient deficient? Probably. Yeah, I would guess that your micronutrient profile is not going to look phenomenal on, you know, sugary drinks and fucking donuts and candy, which is what they make multivitamins for, and I take one. So there you have it. That's where we're at. That's the cycle that I'm going to be using to transition into my blast. I'll have more videos coming up about that. I've got a number of videos coming up about a number of topics, so stay tuned, and as always, we will see you on the next one.